Take a look at the palm of your hand right now, not to read your fortune, not to seek luck, but to recognize something you may have missed for years. A subtle yet powerful symbol that has been there since you were born, waiting for the right moment to awaken you. If you see the letter M clearly formed by the lines on your palm, or a crescent moon quietly resting like a new moon in the dark, whether it's clear or faint, please don't ignore it, because this video is not just for you. It has come to you at the exact moment your soul is ready to remember itself. People with these signs don't live easy lives. They love more deeply, hurt more intensely, feel lonely even among crowds, constantly question their existence and the true meaning of life. They carry a memory that even they can't always name, a sense that they belong somewhere else, that something greater is waiting. That feeling isn't wrong. It's the echo of an ancient calling, a promise your soul once made to the universe, that you would return, that you would fulfill your mission, that you would awaken at the right time. Maybe today is the first time you've noticed the sign, but once you recognize it, you can't pretend you don't know, because it will begin to speak to you. Not with words, but with a feeling that you are no longer the one searching, but the one who has been chosen. Not because you're better than anyone else, but because you've walked through enough darkness to be worthy of the light. And that's why you're here in this moment, hearing these words. Not to listen to someone else's story, but to remember your own. From ancient traditions like Buddhism, to Eastern philosophies and Western mystical teachings, this sign has always been seen as the mark of an awakened soul. Someone who lives with a thin veil between the physical and the unseen world. They are people with uncommon sensitivity, sharp intuition, and a mission to help others remember who they truly are. And today, even science is beginning to reach that boundary where the body is no longer a limit but a roadmap guiding the soul. If something inside you is resonating as you hear these words, it's not your imagination. It's a signal, a reminder, a truth you've always known but never dared to face. And if you have the courage to continue, let the rest of this video take you deeper. Because what you're about to discover may not only change your life, it may awaken the real you that you've always been but have never fully remembered. If you believe in the power of these messages and want to spread this positive energy to welcome the blessings of the universe and of God, please consider making a super thanks contribution from $5 to $50. This helps our community support charity work and continue sharing inspiring, uplifting messages around the world. Thank you so much. Amen. There are souls that have not just passed through a single lifetime. They have been here many times, in many forms, many roles, in many civilizations. They have learned, made mistakes, forgiven and guided others. They have loved and been hurt, risen and fallen. And now they return, not because of unfinished karma, but because there is one final thing left undone, one last step that must be completed before the great door of reincarnation closes forever. This is not a beautiful story meant to comfort a weary heart. This is a truth preserved from ancient wisdom traditions. And somehow you are living proof of it. Because have you ever asked yourself, why have I endured so much loss, so much pain? More than those around me? Why do your wounds feel like they come not only from the outside but cut deeply into where your soul resides? It's because when a soul has reached a certain level of evolution, it is no longer tested with small things. It is placed in circumstances that force it to face its deepest essence. Love that ends too soon. Family that turns away. Friends who betray, work that drains your spirit, and dreams that always seem just out of reach. These things didn't come to destroy you. They came to ask, are you truly ready? Ready to face pain without letting it consume you? Ready to rise without losing the kindness in your heart? Then come the tidal waves, loss, financial collapse, betrayal, isolation, all at once, forcing you to smile through the day while screaming inside. Why me? And the universe doesn't respond with words. But if you listen closely, you'll understand. Only souls who have grown strong enough are entrusted with such trials. Only those truly ready are given the choice to choose the light, even in the darkest times. Maybe you've lived through a cold, lonely marriage where you fought alone in silence, where the stillness between you was heavier than separation. Or maybe you were betrayed by the very person you trusted most. Your partner, your best friend, your so-called soulmate. You loved with the purest part of your heart, and they responded with the worst. That didn't make you weaker. On the contrary, it revealed something you hadn't seen before. The incredible strength you carry within you. And sometimes the deepest wounds don't come from love but from blood. A distant father, a mother who always denied you, a sibling who constantly competed with you, or a child you raised with everything you had who now refuses to even look you in the eye. You don't know where you went wrong because you loved, gave, and sacrificed. Yet the emptiness lingers as if you've forgotten something you can't quite name. Many people get lost in that emptiness. They lose direction, close their hearts, stop trusting others, and eventually forget themselves. But not you. Because even as you bleed in silence, you still rise. You still live. Still love, even knowing it might hurt again. That is what makes you different. Those who bear the mark on their hand are often not hurt by just one person but by a series of people who once said, "I'll always be there for you," and then vanished the moment you truly needed them. They came to lean on you, to unload their burdens, to receive your light, but never once asked, "And how are you?" So you closed yourself off, no longer expecting, no longer trusting. But the pain never really ended, because what you needed was never the crowd. What you needed was truth, presence, someone willing to sit beside you. Not for gain, not out of need, but simply because they genuinely cared. And if there was ever a time when you asked yourself, was it my fault? The answer is no. You are not someone who attracts pain. You are someone who transforms it. And because of that, life brings you bigger lessons, not to break you, but because life knows you are strong enough to carry them. Within you is a strength forged through many lifetimes. A light that has never gone out, only waited for the right moment to be named once more. And even though you've tried so hard to be normal like everyone else, to fit in, to change your behavior, to convince yourself that life is just like this, deep down you've always known you were different. That feeling doesn't come from arrogance but from a quiet awareness that you see things others overlook, that you can sense the unspoken sadness behind someone's eyes, that you can't pretend to enjoy shallow conversations or feel excitement in crowded parties where your soul only feels empty. And this May, as Jupiter, the planet of expansion and wisdom, continues its transit through Taurus, it becomes clear. You no longer need to belong to the old world. You're being guided toward a reality that is more sustainable, slower, and deeper. In a world full of noise, you are drawn to stillness. In a society chasing status and material gain, you find peace in simplicity and sincerity. May carries a special frequency. As Mercury ends its retrograde cycle, your inner knots begin to unravel more clearly. What you once thought were your issues now reveal themselves as invitations to enter a new depth of self-understanding. And through it all, what has never gone out in you is the flame of searching, not for power, fame, or approval, but for a reason to live that your soul can recognize in peace. You've read books, turned to religion, to meditation, to therapy. Times you thought you had found it, only to lose it again. But in truth, what you are seeking has no name. It is a memory, a truth, a feeling of returning to where you truly belong, because your soul knows you're not new to this place. You have lived before. You have loved before. You have lost and found again. And if you're still here reading these words, it's because the deepest part of you has heard the call. A call not from outside, but from the soul level that still remembers the path it once walked. And this is a pivotal moment. As Pluto begins its retrograde in Aquarius at the start of May, every false layer begins to crack. Everything that no longer serves your spiritual evolution will rise through pain, through discomfort, through inner conflict. But it is also in that darkness that you begin to see the truth, that you didn't come here to repeat old patterns, to endure, or to please anyone. You came to remember. You came to awaken. An awakening is never gentle. It asks you to face wounds that haven't healed, to recognize the loops you're still living in, and to bravely release everything you once clung to that no longer reflects who you are. You will have to forgive those who never apologized. Keep moving forward when no one claps for you, and trust your soul's voice even when the outside world mocks you. But the very things that broke you are what have shaped the strength and compassion in you today. These trials are not punishment. They are training. The universe doesn't awaken those who are still asleep. It only stirs the souls that are ready. And if you feel this touches something inside you, then you are ready. Ready not to become someone else, but to return to who you truly are. And right now, as the stars illuminate the deepest layers of who you are, you begin to understand. Betrayal is the lesson of boundaries. Loss is the lesson of letting go. Loneliness is the lesson of listening, and disappointment is the lesson of clarity. None of it is meaningless. Every scar speaks its own language. Every twist in the path is a test of your soul's maturity. The sun in your hand is not a myth. It is a reminder that you've come too far to turn back now. And now, as the stars open the way, it's time for you to rise and step into the path that's long been waiting for you. And even after awakening, even after walking through inner storms, there is something that has never left you. A quiet sense, like a faint call echoing from deep within, that there is still something unfinished, that this journey is not yet complete. That feeling comes and goes like the tides, but it never disappears. Even if you move to a new city, change your job, begin a new relationship, it seems to follow you quietly but persistently. Not because you haven't run far enough, but because it's not something you can run from. Because it is your mission. And missions don't disappear just because you delay them. They wait silently for you to say, "I'm ready." And when you speak those words with true sincerity, the universe responds instantly. No two missions are alike. Every soul carries a unique blueprint, woven from experiences, wounds, and unseen gifts you've brought from many lifetimes. Some come to heal with words. Some bring comfort just through their quiet presence. Some are born to protect others, to support, and some to create beauty. But all missions share one beginning: awakening. Those who carry the special sign on their hand, the letter M or a crescent moon, did not come here to be perfect nor to save the world. They came to remember who they are. And when that remembering begins, everything around them starts to shift. They no longer live at the same frequency. They begin to vibrate to a different rhythm. Deeper, slower, more real. The outer world may not notice right away, but their soul knows a door has opened. If you pause right now, close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, "What is my mission?" You'll feel a response. It may not be a clear voice, but a fleeting image, a stirring in your chest, a memory suddenly coming alive. That's your soul whispering, "This is the way." Because ever since you were a child, you've been drawn to something you couldn't explain in words, but you've always known it was there. What you call restlessness is not instability. It is your mission trying to remind you. And if you need a clue, look at your life, the patterns that repeat, the relationships that play out the same way, the situations you thought you had moved past but keep returning in another form. These aren't coincidences. They are lessons. They are signals. They are chances to break the cycle that you, not just in this life but in your lineage, in your soul family, were sent here to release. And when you begin to break those patterns, you're not just freeing yourself. You are healing an entire flow of the past. You're giving freedom to those who came before you and opening a door for those yet to come. That is why, for those who carry this mark, no experience is random, no emotion is too much. Every deep feeling is a layer ready to be transformed, and you are here to do exactly that, quietly but powerfully. Mission doesn't need to be announced. It doesn't need an audience or applause. It lives in your small daily choices, the times you choose love over bitterness, courage over withdrawal, truth over pretending. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You can't pretend you don't know, because once you've opened your eyes in the light, the darkness no longer feels like home. So pause. Take a deep breath and look around your life. Is something repeating? Is there a lesson you've been avoiding? Is there something you know deep down you need to do differently today? When you begin to answer those questions with honesty, your mission will begin to reveal itself. Because awakening doesn't mean changing the whole world. It simply means beginning to see the world with the right eyes, the eyes of a soul that remembers why it came here. If you've gone through the trials we've spoken of, losses you thought you couldn't survive, betrayal by the ones you loved most, repeated cycles of pain, disappointment, and abandonment, and yet somehow after it all you are starting to feel lighter, your life is beginning to shift, then it's not by chance. That is a very clear sign, because when a mission nears its fulfillment, the energy around you begins to transform. You start attracting the right people, soul-aligned beings, those who don't need you to explain who you are but simply understand. Family begins to heal. New relationships come with respect and kindness. And you realize you no longer have to try to be loved. Love arrives as a natural response to the energy you now carry. The astrology of May brings a special affirmation for this process. The full moon in Sagittarius mid-month opens a wider perspective on your journey, helping you reconnect with a spiritual truth long forgotten. At the same time, Saturn in Pisces continues to emphasize a powerful message. It's time to bring structure and discipline to what's invisible to your inner life itself. And when you're on the right path, you'll notice the anxiety in your heart begins to melt. The insecurity that once kept you up at night starts to fade. You begin to understand what used to hurt you. Everything happens for a reason. Everyone comes to teach you something, and every stage, no matter how difficult, is a step on the path of awakening. On the other hand, if you still feel stuck in your own life, if the same cycles keep repeating in finances, love, career, or emotions, that's not failure. It's simply a reminder your mission is still unfolding, and it will continue until you finally listen to the call of your soul. A call that's been there for a long time, though you've tried to avoid it. No miracle happens without a choice. The day you bravely say enough to what has kept you small, the day you lift your head and decide to live differently, not for the world but for yourself, that is the day everything begins to shift. Not through a magic button but through a shift in your frequency. That's when you forgive those who never apologized. That's when you put yourself first without guilt. That's when you no longer wait for permission to step into a version of yourself that is stronger, clearer, and freer. And when you do that, a new cycle begins. A cycle in which pain no longer drives your life. It may still be present, but now you are the one holding the wheel. And the signs of this new cycle are clear. You feel at peace in solitude. You no longer fear silence. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You're no longer to be seen. You feel, maybe for the first time, that you are truly living, not just surviving. A mission once fulfilled leaves a trace. Those are the scars you no longer hide but learn to honor. But it also leaves behind freedom. A freedom that doesn't come from how much you have, but from no longer being ruled by anything within. And if you are living through such a phase right now, know that it's not luck. It is the universe responding to your courage. And if you're not there yet, don't lose heart, because it will come, not for the perfect, but for anyone who dares to align with themselves. It doesn't matter how old you are, how many times you've fallen, how many times you've been wrong. The only thing that matters is that you've recognized what you're repeating, and you've chosen to break it. But you know what? Knowing that alone isn't enough. If you keep living as if each day is a tired copy of the last, if you continue walking through the loop of shallow relationships, draining work, and expectations that were never yours, then the mark on your hand will remain just a forgotten calling, and eventually, the soul begins to grow weary. Not because you're weak, but because it has waited too long for you to become who you truly are. This is when true awakening begins, when you can no longer postpone your true nature. And yes, it hurts. It will pull you out of your comfort zone, push you away from old connections, and shatter the illusions you spent a lifetime building. But it's also in that breaking down that peace begins to seep in. You begin to understand, not with your mind but with your soul, that you are no longer in the dark. And although the road ahead may still be long, you are no longer lost, because now you're moving inward instead of chasing something outside of you. Maybe right at this moment you're living through that turning point. Maybe you're feeling as though everything is pulling you towards something new, though still unclear. Don't ignore that feeling. Don't dismiss the restlessness inside you, because that is the soul's final call. It's time. Time for you to not just exist but to live in truth. Saturn in Pisces this May is calling you to face yourself. No more running. No more rationalizing. This is no longer a time for delay but for surrender. And if you don't know where to start, just ask, what is my soul trying to tell me? Don't look for the answer with your mind. Listen with your feelings, with your body, with your dreams. Because your soul has known all along. It carries the memory of lifetimes past, of promises left unfulfilled, of missions not yet completed. And if you bear these signs, you can be sure of one thing. You have come a long way. You have matured through countless lessons of life. And now you're no longer far from the destination. You are very close to the final shift, where everything begins to align rather than resist. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be a guru or a healer. You only need to listen, to allow, and to trust. Awakening begins the moment you stop ignoring the call within. And that choice can happen right now, in this very moment. And then something miraculous happens. Nothing can go back to the way it was. You feel as if a part of you has been unchained. You are no longer anchored by what no longer reflects who you are. And the world begins to appear in a completely new way. You start to feel discomfort in meaningless conversations. Behaviors you once tolerated now weigh heavily on you. Old habits no longer bring comfort the way they used to, not because you've become more difficult, but because you've moved to a different level of evolution, and what still lives down there simply doesn't match your frequency anymore. You feel the need for silence, for space, for a change in how you live, for the release of things that were once right in the past but are no longer right for the person you are becoming. And that's completely okay. This is not an identity crisis. This is inner alignment. This is when your soul starts reorganizing everything. Your relationships, your beliefs, your desires, your lifestyle, and your goals. Because once you dare to let go, once you dare to step through the door your soul has been knocking on for years, the extraordinary begins to unfold. Fateful encounters, miraculous coincidences, people who say exactly what you needed to hear, and most of all, remembrance. You will remember who you once were, why you came here, and why every past challenge was never a punishment but a preparation. Thank you so much for staying with us until now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, so you won't miss more precious messages and prophetic insights. Your financial destiny is entirely in your hands, and I can't wait to see what the universe is about to bring your way. Step and flow with the current of abundance, and let the incredible energy of the universe guide you into a radiant future.